Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Been trying to figure out if I can come up with a name for these videos, and I joke about it, and my son said, no, don't do that. What do you guys think about a daily dose of Dan? I know it's kind of silly, it's kind of stupid, but you guys like that? The other thing I'm considering is I've got to launch my podcast, so I may actually start these videos with, hey, this is Dan with Pain Free You. And in this episode of the Pain Free You podcast, right, could be a video podcast where I'll also extract the audio and put it out in the various podcasting directories. So do you like a daily dose of Dan? Do you like the Pain Free You podcast? I may jokingly call it a dose of Dan, but not really have that be the official name. That's certainly not going to be the name of the podcast. So anyway, in this topic, I'm going to talk about pain is not proof of an injury. All right? Pain does not, it's not proof of an injury. And if you've learned anything about Dr. Sarno and this thing he calls TMS, tension myositis, and tension myoneural syndrome, then the mind-body syndrome, what I like to call too much stress or distraction pain. If you've learned anything about that and you really kind of take it to heart that the brain can create pain as a mechanism to distract us from these overwhelming and scary and dangerous emotions that don't fit in with our own self-image, basically unresolved emotions that I like to say, you'll realize that the presence of pain does not prove there is an injury. So many people on Facebook are commenting about, well, I've got this injury that never healed right. Or I had surgery 10 months ago and that hasn't healed right. And look, there are some potential cases where something was not done great in the surgery, or the physical therapy may not have been done right or at all, and therefore it didn't really heal right. You don't have the mobility you should have as a result of maybe not doing the physical therapy necessary to allow that joint or that, whatever to heal. So there may be limited cases where, in the case of a surgery or a really bad injury, it's going to take longer than standard. Somebody called me to task in saying that, 6 to 8 weeks is not a guarantee, and it's kind of dangerous to insist that that's the case. Well, look, guys, these are generic or general thoughts and statements. So for the most part, the body does heal in 6 to 8 weeks. Are there exceptions? Sure. There's exceptions to all of this. So back to the topic here. Pain does not give us any proof of an injury, especially pain that happened from something so benign as like bending over, right? Our bodies are not frail or broken. The chiropractors want you to, believe that, and no offense to the chiropractors out there, but they literally want you to believe that if you don't come see them for an alignment twice a week for the next 20 years, that your spine's going to jump out of your body and run down the street, right? And so if somebody says you must have injured it, where's the proof? Where's the inflammation, right? Typically when you injure something, things swell, things get, warm to the touch, there's bleeding, there is bruising, right? And in most cases, I know I pulled my back out dozens and dozens of times over those years. Dozens. I don't even know how many times I pulled my back out. There was never any swelling in the area. There was never any bruising. There was never any hotness to the touch. It was just a muscle spasming, which I now know was TMS, or the muscle going into spasm as a result of all of the stress, tension, heightened fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol. And why does it happen? I believe it's a distraction mechanism. And so, again, bending over to put on my underwear led me to 13 years of pain. If we follow the injury model, boy, that was a heck of an injury from something really silly and not dangerous, right? But for a lot of years, well over a decade, I was afraid to bend over for fear of pulling my back out. And that was even after I knew about Sarno. So, pain is not proof of an injury. And if the doctor says, well, you must have injured yourself. Okay, doc, how do we know that? How do we know it's an injury and not just a result of stress? Ask the questions if you're still going to doctors. I know a lot of us are not. We've kind of sworn off of them because they tend to make us worse with their statements of, well, I can't find anything wrong, but most likely you're going to have this pain for the rest of your life. That type of statement, oh my God, these doctors really don't know how much harm they're doing by giving us that prognosis. So as I've said before in other videos, if they see something on an MRI or an X-ray, and they say, okay, disc degeneration or spinal stenosis or a bulging or herniated disc, okay, it's there. Believe the diagnosis that there is a bulging disc. You don't have to believe that that is the source of the pain, right? In most cases, that's normal aging. So what you're seeing on the MRI is real. So believe the diagnosis, but I like to say don't believe the prognosis. The prognosis being you're going to be in pain forever, or if you don't get this surgery, you're going to be worse and worse, and you'll probably end up needing a fusion and all this crazy, scary stuff. I almost don't even like saying it here in these videos because I know those words are triggering because many of us have heard those from doctors. So, again, pain, the presence of pain does not prove an injury. The other thing I will talk about, some other folks don't have pain. They've got other things like muscle twitches, tingling, burning, numbness, and weakness. So the presence of weakness does not prove any neurological damage, right? And I've heard so many people over the years say, I've got neurological damage. And okay, what did the doctor say? Well, it's sciatica. Okay. And so they're saying that's neurological damage, or did you conclude that? And it's really easy to kind of self-diagnose ourselves. And as we explain what's going on with to other people, it's very easy to use the medical terms. Oh, I've got, X, Y, and Z medical term. Whatever it may be. I've said before, I'll say it again, I do not like using medical terminology like plantar fasciitis and sciatica and neuropathy and other terms like that. I don't like those medical terms because they're scary and they have authority and they make it much more strong. Even tension-myositis syndrome sounds scary, right? Diversion pain syndrome. I like the first two words, diversion pain. That's why I use the term distraction pain. But I don't put a medical sounding term like syndrome at the end of it. It's simply distraction pain or distraction symptoms. I've got weakness from an overabundance of TMS, too much stress, right? And the stress can be created by our emotional world and our memories, right? Excuse me. So, just remember, if you're using terms like my injury, really? Unless you fell off a roof or were in a car accident and there was real trauma, it's likely that bending over to pick up the laundry or to pick up your kid or to do whatever, like in my case, putting on my underwear for Pete's sake, that's not proof of an injury. But I had 13 years of pain as a result. So it's really easy to adopt the language of using the term injury or neurological disorder. Those things, they kind of stick. Terms like I've got a bad back. Okay, where's the proof I've got a bad back? Just because I've got pain in my back area often doesn't mean I've got a bad back. You know why I know that? Because once I used these TMS mind-body methods to get rid of it, my back was no longer bad, even though I didn't do anything physically or structurally to fix it, right? So using terms like I've got a bad back or I threw my back out again. No, you didn't. We can't throw our back out. The spine is one of the most encapsulated parts of the human body. It's wrapped by, there's the bones in there, there's the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, the discs themselves, that disc material, wrapped by nerves and muscle, right? We can't throw our back out. Under very, 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 very rare circumstances where things kind of shift a little bit due to significant trauma, okay, I'll give you that, but that's not the vast majority of us. Most of us had pain come up from something a lot less significant than falling out of a tree or falling off the roof. And it is amazing how resilient the body is, because there are tons of people who have taken big falls like that and have recovered and don't have long-term pain. So just a reminder, even if you had a true, real injury, right? Let's say there was a legitimate injury, like you were in a car accident and your shoulder and your chest is bruised from the seatbelt or whatever may have occurred. Maybe you broke a leg in a car accident or something, fell off a bike and broke a wrist. Yes, those are true injuries. They do heal. And what I do say is that fear, focus on the pain, anxiety about the pain, worry, constant measuring and monitoring and seeing how you're doing, catastrophizing, these are all the things that teach our brain to keep the pain signals going. So a real true injury where you fall and break a wrist or something, that's real. It will heal, and if you trust the body to heal, and you do what the medical doctors say, care for it, we'll splint it, we'll wrap it in a cast and keep it up in a splint for a while and then go easy with it, it will heal. And with a little bit of rehab and regaining the mobility, it will heal. But we can literally teach ourselves to stay in pain long after our true injury has healed. And the same thing holds true for what we perceive as an injury when we threw our back out or whatever new symptoms started. For whatever the reason, your brain decided to give you some TMS. And through fear, focus, and anxiety about that pain, we can literally teach ourselves to stay in pain, even though there was never any injury in the first place. So I know it's really easy to feel broken. I know it's even easier to say, wow, I believe in this TMS stuff, but I must be broken emotionally if this is what's going on. And that's not the case either. Tens of millions of people in the US alone have this. And what I will tell you is that this is global. I just looked today at some of the statistics on who's liked my page or is a member of the group. And it was probably about 15 different countries around the world. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying this stuff is universal. This is global. I don't know. So, what do you guys think of this? Do you guys like the concept that, the sooner we stop calling it an injury, because perhaps there was never an injury to begin with? Perhaps the thing you saw on your MRI or X-ray is really just normal aging, that for many, many people there is no real pain. I think 2/3 of the people who were MRI'd that never had any back pain have bulging or herniated discs. There's stats and studies out there. New England Journal of Medicine. Literally, they did MRIs on 100 people without back pain. 2/3 of them had bulging and herniated discs. So if that's what you think is going on with you, I'm here to say it's not likely to be your case. Dr. Sarno is great at explaining that, so go back and read some Sarno again. And if you haven't read Sarno, pick up one of the books. I like Mind Body Prescription. Divided Mind is a little bit deeper, and it has other doctors writing about this stuff. So if you really want from the horse's mouth, either healing back pain if you've got back pain, and mind-body prescription if you've got back pain and or some other type of symptoms that he may cover a little bit more in depth there. So again, pain is not proof of an injury. Weakness is not proof of neurological damage. Other symptoms are not proof of a body that is malfunctioning. It's all as a result of TMS, which I love to joke is too much stress, tension, unresolved emotions, and emotions that don't fit in with our self-esteem. So do this work, guys. You can get better when you realize that this is all that's going on and has been going on for a long time. What a relief. Really, turn down the volume on your fear. Just know that you're already well. And then it's just a matter of teaching your brain to stop fearing and focusing on the pain. Shift your focus to the life you want. Shift your focus to joy, meaning, purpose. Stop stressing the small stuff. And I'm not diminishing how significant this pain has been. Heck, I know firsthand, 13 years. But the faster you can decide, and again I use that term a lot, decision, faster you can decide that your body is well, and that anytime you catch yourself going down that catastrophizing, pattern, you kind of stop yourself, shift to gratitude, shift to what you want to do, what you need to do. And the more and more that you do it, the better you're going to get. So, again, injury is not proof, pain is not proof of an injury. Weakness is not proof of a neurological disorder. It's all just TMS, too much stress. So let me know what you guys think of this, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.